And we're ready whenever you are, Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for attending tonight's city council meeting. For those who are attending remotely, the camera in council chambers is set up to show those attending in person tonight. The platform we are using has a raised hand feature. You will notice a picture of a hand in the upper right-hand corner. When we reach the point in the meeting where the public has the opportunity to address council, you can click that button to be given your opportunity to address council. We'll stand for the pledge, but following the pledge, I would ask, again, remain standing for a moment of silence in memory of former city councilor John Badlam, who passed away last Wednesday, I believe. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Kathy, please call the roll.
Mayor Tulley,
Here.
Councilor Silly,
Here.
Councilor Powers,
Here.
Councilor Scamperly,
Here.
Councilor Stevenson, here, Councilor Trim, here. Councilor Weaver,
Here.
quorum present.
Thank you. We have one presentation tonight from Director of Planning and Development, Andrea Smith.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This evening, I just wanted to take an opportunity to give you all an update on Winter Storm Elliott, which for those that might not remember was December 24th through 27th of 2022. For those that are attending remotely, there is a handout that has the slides. The slides are just some images of the damage to help council and the public better understand the damage that we sustained. So go ahead, Kathy, sorry, thanks. So as I mentioned, this winter storm occurred December 23rd through 28th. That's the storm period. And essentially here in Ogdensburg, we sustained severe winds that caused widespread damage, specifically within our municipal marina. You can go to the next slide, Kathy. So that first slide showed some images that were taken by the contractor down here doing some work that evening, and the next couple of slides are taken in the subsequent days. So prior to the storm event, the marina was encased in ice, and the severe wind caused pinching and broke some of the welds and also actually removed some of the floats that are used there. So our municipal marina consists of 67 floating docks. It's composed of a modular aluminum dock system that's supported by polyethylene dock floats and a series of pipe brackets. The pipes anchor the docks and allow them to float depending on the water level. And the municipal marina is protected by the presence of the breakwater to the north that typically blocks the large waves that predominantly are experienced from the north and the west, which ultimately brings protection to the marina. The high winds shifted the docks, and you can, if you want to go to the next picture, Kathy, that would be fine. And as you can see there, kind of caused some breakage and pinching, and you can just go to the next slide. That shows some of the floats that are missing. Next slide. So the wind and wave action ripped the floats off. Others were punctured or dented. And just in general, the marina was kind of battered by the wind and the wave and the large chunks of ice that were dislodged. In total, 21 floats that are 3x4 were lost, and an additional 21 floats that are 4x6 were damaged during that particular event. This is also the south shore of the marina, where we have electrical service for the boaters and water service, and we also sustained damage to those services. The goal of any FEMA disaster is to restore the damage to the pre-damage condition So in this instance, we have been working with the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA to secure funding to bring the docks back to their pre-disaster condition. We're not looking to expand services. We're not extending the marina. We are simply looking to repair what was damaged pre-storm, with one very small exception. We did qualify for a small portion of mitigation funds, which will be used to upsize the brackets that hold the spud poles that allow the docks to float up and down. We had done that in 2020 on the north side, 2020, 2021. On the north side, we had upsized those brackets, and we had no damage during the storm because those docks were able to float and fluctuate better than the docks on the south side, where we were unable to do that same project. So FEMA has allowed us to do one item of mitigation. So instead of a one-to-one replacement of those brackets, we will be upsizing those brackets that hold the spud poles that balance or anchor the docks. If you want to go to the next picture, Kathy. We'll also be replacing the old electrical and water with new electrical and new pedestals. Next picture. There again, you can just see some of the pinching and lifting. Next picture. And next picture. So I just want to note that FEMA, as with other FEMA projects, is a 75% FEMA funded grant. And in this case, the state will be providing 12.5% match, and the city will have a 12.5% local match. The estimated damages are about $500,000, and we will be putting the project out to bid. You can go to the next slide, Kathy, and the final slide. And that's really what I wanted to give council and the public an update on here. So we have been working with Department of Homeland Security and FEMA to secure funding, which we have for the repairs. And we are working with Tisdale Associates, who the council earlier this year has approved a contract. They are developing or have developed the bid specifications that will be the basis of the bidding process. And so we have those documents now in hand. They're also the basis for permitting. So we have just today submitted our joint application permit to the New York State DEC, the Office of General Services, Department of State, as well as the Army Corps of Engineers, who will be reviewing it. We believe that the project will be determined to be exempt because it is a repair, but we still have to submit that for final determination. So that's ongoing right now, along with NEPA and SEEKR, which are the federal and state environmental reviews. Once that's completed, which we anticipate to be in and around February, we will officially put the project out to bid. The estimated time for doing that is March. There'll be a bid opening in April, followed by an award by City Council in May. And because May really puts us right back into the 2025 boating season, we are proposing to award the bid in May, allow the contractor to source materials and gear up for construction to begin October 1st upon the closing of the marina. So the proposed construction season period for this project would be October 1, 2025 through March 2026. And that also aligns nicely with what we anticipate to be a condition of any permitting, which is the in-water work restricted period, which is March through July. So it's a little bit of a lag here, but just wanted to lay that out for everybody so that everybody would know what we have been doing, what we're working on right now, and where we foresee ourselves going in the future. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Andrea. Questions or comments from council?
Just great job. Yeah. Securing more money for the city.
Well, I think that was just the storm. But definitely, good partnership with Department of Public Works, who was very instrumental in documenting the damage and getting everything we needed to FEMA, and also working with the county emergency services. They've been very helpful.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, so great explanation as to what's going to be happening down there to get us back to where we were before the storm. Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks.
We have one proclamation this evening, and at this time, I'd like to invite members of Zonta to join us for the proclamation that we will be reading tonight. Office of the Mayor, Ogdensburg, New York proclamation. Whereas violence against women is a worldwide pandemic. It crosses every social and economic class, every religion, race, and ethnicity. And whereas at least 1 out of every 3 women worldwide have experienced violence during their lifetime. And whereas Zonta International supports projects that engage and empower the global community to end violence against women. And whereas Zonta Says No to Violence Against Women is a Zonta International campaign to raise awareness of and increase actions to end violence against women and girls around the world. And now therefore I, Michael J. Tooley, do hereby proclaim November 25th, 2024 through December 10th, 2024 as the Zonta Says No to Violence Against Women campaign, and encourage all people to recognize and help end violence against women and girls. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and cause this seal to be affixed. So ladies, I share this with the clerk to attest, and then you'll get a copy, okay? Well, again, it's certainly something that should be spoken to. I'm very happy that Zonta takes the lead on this in order to protect women around the world, particularly in our local community. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. We have one public hearing tonight. It is regarding an ordinance to lease municipal property at 330 Ford Street in the basement for the satellite office of U.S. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. And I will open that public hearing now. It is going to be bill number 107. If anyone attending in person would like to speak regarding the public hearing, please come down to the podium and you will have 5 minutes to speak. Now, if anyone attending remotely would like to speak regarding the public hearing, please use the raised hand feature in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, and you will have 5 minutes to speak.
I do not see any hands raised, Mayor.
I declare this public hearing closed. That brings us to personal appearance. At this time, if anyone attending in person would like to address council, please come down to the podium and you will have 5 minutes.
Good evening. William Snyder, 513 John Street. Just have a couple questions for you. We see that there's nothing pertaining to the water and sewer on tonight's agenda. We were wondering if council could ask city staff for an update tonight under old business as to what has been done so far by the code enforcement department as far as identifying, notifying, and enforcing the city's code that's pertaining to home businesses. And can city staff explain what the actual process going forward for enforcement, because it doesn't seem to be very clear to the public. We're also wondering if the sewer rates are going to be adjusted in a similar way. That's all I got. Thank you. And I'd just like to hand a copy to the city clerk so it could be documented.
Good evening. Wendy Hamilton, Ogdensburg resident. I'm here with some good news. The Friends participated in the Kennedy Craft Show, and we are very pleased to tell you that we actually sold some books, and the sales tax revenue from those books will be coming your way. I don't know when, because I don't know when New York State gets it to you, but it got me thinking. Over the last 3 years, we've given over $1,000 in sales tax revenue selling used books at our book sales and in our bookstore. There were over 100 vendors at that Kennedy Craft Fair. I hope we're getting some of that sales tax revenue. I don't know who locally oversees that. I know it's a New York State thing, but surely there's someone locally that's kind of looking into that, because if our little friends can give you that much, which isn't a lot, I get it. Those other vendors must be doing better than we are. Particularly, this nonprofit asks nothing of you. We have never asked for a city service, for DPW to help, for the firemen, for the police. We ask for nothing. So what we give you is extra, right? Because there's no offsetting labor that's required for what we do. We support our library when you can't. You know, we provide that gap funding for adult and children program, for emergency boiler repairs, for security services. That's what we do. But we also support the city with sales tax revenue. So I just wanted to pat our backs for you, let you know some money's coming your way, and maybe you can see what the other vendors are doing. It also got me thinking about who oversees the commerce in the city. Because there's a lot of services that are provided in this city by independent people that are taxable that people probably don't know. The guy who does your snow plowing, that's a taxable service. Did you know that? And there's a lot of that going on in the winter. So I don't know who's in charge, but it's something to think about. And also maybe think about that additional 0.5%, 1% sales tax within the city limits. Because if we can get another 0.5 cent or 1 cent on the sales that are in this city, that's going to help. And it's only 1 cent. And it starts to distribute the load. It's not just on property owners. So something to think about, and woohoo, some money coming your way.
Thank you. Now, if anyone attending remotely would like to address council, please use the raised hand feature. The city clerk will recognize and unmute one person at a time, and you will have 5 minutes.
I do not see any hands raised, Mayor.
Thank you. That brings us to correspondence. Do we have any correspondence tonight?
We do not.
Next, we have our consent agenda. That the claims as enumerated in General Fund Warrant 22-2024 in the amount of $534,753.88, and Library Warrant number 22-2024 in the amount of $0, and Capital Fund Warrant number 22-2024 in the amount of $10,591.65, and Community Development Fund Warrant number 22-2024 in the amount of $76.69, and Community Renewal Fund Warrant number 22-2024 in the amount of $0 as audited be, and the same hereby are ordered paid. I so move.
Second.
Kathy, please call the roll.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim, Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
approved.
We have 2 appointments tonight. First, I make a motion to reappoint James LaFave and Dean Lichterman to 5-year terms on the planning board, terms to begin November 25th, 2024, and end December 31st, 2029. I so move. Second. Any discussion? Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim, Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
approved.
Next, I make a motion to reappoint Christopher Lalone to a 3-year term on the zoning board, term to begin November 25th, 2024, and then December 31st, 2027. I so move.
Second.
Any discussion? Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Counselor Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Tulley?
Yes?
Counselor Selly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Approved.
Brings us to items for council action. Our first item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
Thank you, Mayor. An ordinance to lease municipal property at 330 Ford Street basement for the satellite office of U.S. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik.
I'll move that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
It's, over the years that she wanted the basement, it's nice to have somebody right here in our hometown. Click of a button and you're talking to different people. Be glad to do that again. Obviously, she has potentially a new position, so we'll see who's next. And hopefully whoever her replacement is takes the office and get the same treatment.
And I will note for the public that this resolution requires 6 affirmative votes to pass, 6 or more. With that, Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Tulley?
Yes?
Counselor Selly?
No.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Approved.
Our next item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
A resolution in support of the Village of Potsdam's effort to salvage Potsdam sandstone from demolished St. Lawrence Psychiatric Center buildings.
Move that. Second it?
A couple of comments and updates on this resolution. It's a little bit after the fact now. We learned last week from both Senator Walsick's office and Assembly Member Gray's office that OMH has approved access to the Potsdam sandstone once the buildings are demolished, the current buildings under demolishment, for the village and the city, and that OMH has already paid for the engineering study to determine if there was any contamination, and none has been found. And so we've been asked to submit a letter before Thursday with regards to what our intentions will be in regards to retrieving the sandstone. So in conversations I've been in with the city manager and with Shane, the sandstone that is currently available, and it's just a very small pile of very large stone, 4 feet to 8 feet long. But our DPW will make the arrangements, and we'll work with them to help them with that, to access and retrieve our share of the sandstone. And it will be brought to the DPW facility where it will be maintained and stored until it's possibly needed for remedial work, primarily looking at the state armory. I've been in conversation with the mayor of the village of Potsdam. We're in agreement in supporting each other in this venture. There was no cost to us. OMH absorbed the full cost in the study. And so we've pretty much agreed that what is currently available can be shared by both communities. Now, going forward, when other buildings are demolished and other sandstone might become available, we're uncertain at that point whether or not the state will continue to do the evaluations at no cost or not. So those are decisions that we don't have to make now. We'll just wait and see how things play out going forward. But I appreciate the outreach from the Village of Potsdam's mayor. We first talked about this the day Senator Schumer was here. She indicated that, if Ogdensburg had interest because the land is on, the city of Ogdensburg, Potsdam wouldn't object if we thought we might have need for the sandstone. So anyway, this resolution puts us on the record in support of their efforts. And I think we're teaming well together in taking advantage of the opportunity that the state is giving us. Any other questions or comments? Kathy, please call the roll.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim, Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
approved.
I will introduce our next resolution, which is the appointment of the 2025 City of Ogdensburg Board of Ethics members. Whereas pursuant to section 27-21 of the Ogdensburg Municipal Code, a Board of Ethics consisting of 5 members shall be appointed by the City Council for terms of 1 year. And whereas all members of the Board of Ethics shall reside in the City of Ogdensburg and shall serve without compensation at the pleasure of the City Council. And whereas such Board of Ethics shall include at least 1 member who is an elected or appointed municipal officer or employee. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council hereby appoint the following to the Board of Ethics, terms to begin January 1, 2025, and end on December 31st, 2025. City Clerk Kathy A. Jack, Angela McRoberts, Laura Pearson, John Pinkerton, and Thomas Pinkerton. I so move.
Second.
Any question or comment?
I think, Your Honor, just for people that are not familiar with all the families in Ogdensburg, it would be a good point to make that John Pinkerton, Tom Pinkerton are not part of the same immediate family, because I did have some questions about that. So it's, we're very fortunate to have some very large Pinkerton families, and they're not part of the same immediate family.
Thank you for sharing that, Councilor Stevenson. I will also point out that we did consult the city attorney because Angela McRoberts is a member of the Ogdensburg City School District Board of Education, but he did not see that as a conflict prohibiting her from serving in her role in the Board of Ethics. And the game plan for this board will be to call for a meeting, an organizational meeting in early January. Basically have them establish bylaws, and then hopefully they'll be dormant for a year. and we'll go from there. But certainly I'm pleased that these individuals have agreed to step up and serve on this important board in case there is an allegation of a violation of the city's code of ethics by either a member of city council or a member of city employment. So I'm very pleased with this board. Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim, Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
approved.
Our next item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronus.
A resolution to ratify a labor contract with the CSCA salary unit for the years 2025 through 2027.
I'll move that. Second.
Would you like to comment on this first, Fonda, before we
Sure.
have further
Happy to
comment?
do so. This is a 3-year contract. Salary increases respectively for the years are 4%, 3%, and 3%. Each salary step has an additional $500 attached to it, as well as a workload provision in case employees are added more workload than they usually have from 1 year to the next. Employees will be allowed to use sick time as it accrues, as opposed to waiting for 6 months. And it will include both some language cleanup and any previous MOAs that have been previously agreed to.
Questions or comments from council? Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim, Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
approved.
Our next item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronus.
A resolution to establish the official newspapers for the publication of local law notices and other matters required by law to be published by the City of Ogdensburg for 2025.
Move that.
Second.
Any discussion? Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim, Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
approved.
Our next item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronus.
A resolution designated the official city bank depositories for 2025.
Move that. Second.
Discussion? Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim, Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
approved.
Our next item of business will be read by City Manager Fonda Cronis.
A resolution designated 2025 city council meeting dates.
Move that.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Just a quick comment here, Mayor, for this months of pretty much March and April, I'll be south. And I'll be available remotely.
Good for you.
Thank you for sharing that, Councilor Powers.
Not at the time, just at least when the time comes, if you know for sure. And obviously, there's a protocol for establishing being remote. The city clerk prior to me, well, prior. So
Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Trim?
Yes.
Counselor Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Tulley?
Yes.
Counselor Selly?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly?
yes,
Counselor Stevenson?
Yes.
Approved.
That brings us to old business. Does anyone have any old business this evening?
I guess I would just like to follow up with the questions that we had from earlier tonight about the protocol. I know it's really early on with what we just started with the new policies with water and sewer, but is there a plan that's being worked on so that we can get some kind of an idea how we're going forward with this?
Certainly, there is. Previously, I had shared with council a draft of a letter that would go out to potential businesses. That letter will probably need to be updated and more current with what final decisions with council are. Once that's done, city staff will meet, determine an initial list to mail to, and we will mail those letters out. Goal would be to do that by the end of the calendar year.
Thank you. And about the sewer rates too?
I believe it's the intent of council to extend that for both water and sewer, and unless I'm told otherwise, that's what I planned on doing.
Right, but I think in order to accomplish that, we're going to have to change the code in regards to the language in the section dealing with sewer, which will require a resolution next meeting to have a public hearing on the second meeting in December and to take action at that time to amend the code.
We'll make sure that happens.
Thank you.
Any other old business? That brings us new business, and we'll begin with City Manager Fonda Cronis.
Thank you, Mayor. In your packet, you'll see that there is a request for seeker lead agency notification involvement by the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority in regard to a child care facility that they propose to build at One Correction Way, City of Ogdensburg. As the lead agency, OBPA, has reached out to the city for comment on that circumstance. And because we provided the packet to council last week, if council has any concerns or comments that they would like to make, I am more than happy to include that in our comment letter that we send back. Management has identified a couple of small issues that they look to see clarified in regard to water and sewer, and we will do so within the secret process.
Questions or comments?
so I read the comments from management and completely agree with addressing that with the OBPA in terms of the need for the water and other things like that. So, good, thank you.
We're talking about another 220 feet? Is that what was reported? In conjunction with the lines that we have existing there now?
Maybe like their service line. Which weren't going to be long 6 inches and branch out that small service, 6 inches that they say required for it.
Are we gonna loop this or is it gonna be a dead end?
As the designs are published now, I think it's a better. So,
Because we've had problems prior with like the old Oddfellows Hall and other places where we had dead ends with greatly discolored water. And if it's not too great an additional cost, I think we're better off looping it. I don't know what the cost will be, but
those are comments that we are likely to make.
So that's what I meant when I said I support the loop occurring in that.
Where exactly is this going on Correction Way?
Where St. Lawrence Gas or Everidge is.
Yes.
Any
So
other?
I'm sorry, Mayor. The infrastructure that's currently there is 6-inch line? It would be, right? I mean,
Yeah, but it's like,
and I guess my question, Shane, would be just as simply as a 6-inch line, a service line, as you called it, is not going to impede any potential further development in that area because we've already got the original infrastructure there.
correct. The original
Right?
infrastructure was.
That's my
overlaid.
concern
We
is
took it
anything.
over, I think, in 2007.
Okay.
So it's a straight line that runs to Felsco's, I think it is that the right one?
Yeah.
But we're afraid if they start coming off it, that it's gonna create the rust issues like Oddfellows had, and like we just had down on West River where that new development came in with those houses, it just created a rust issue. Then we don't want to be left holding the responsibility for it.
Good. You just answered it for me. Perfect. Perfect.
Any other comments or discussion on this point? Okay, and then also under new business tonight, we'll ask the city manager to speak to us about a sewer service agreement modification with Village of Hewlett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your packet, you have an additional resolution for consideration. After the agendas were published, we had a meeting, city management along with the Development Authority and the Village of Hewleton to work through some language to do an additional modification to the current IMA between the city and the village as it refers and pertains to the sewer service agreement. The resolution basically does two things. The first thing it does is it recalculates the cost for sewer service, given some of the new and additional practices that we must follow, given the aeration and the, as I should say, the update to the CSO tank, the aeration that's going to happen. The other modification to the IMA has to do with giving the city permission to test water periodically to make sure that that the composition and the pH and some of the different statistics that the water would have, it will help the plant better deal with wastewater as it comes in. So those are the two additions to the IMA via modification number 5. And because there's a bit of urgency to this, given the fact that funders won't give final approval on this. I'm talking about Rural Development, USDA, until both entities have approved. We want to move this as quickly as possible. And that's why we're not waiting for the December 2nd meeting.
I'd be happy to bring this about.
So with that, I will move the resolution to authorize the city manager to sign sewer service agreement modification number 5 between City of Ogdensburg and the Village of Hewlett.
Second.
Any further discussion? And just a comment that coming from the floor as it is, that will require at least 5 votes affirmative to adopt. With that, Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Tulley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim.
Yes.
Approved.
Any other new business to come before council tonight? All right, and with that, that brings us to items for discussion. Anyone have any items for discussion this evening?
Just want to appreciate getting ahead of that with Dank and Hewleton and recognizing the issues that we're having here and staying on top of it with Hewleton and obviously this mutual agreement, the IMA is working quite well. Be proactive in that fashion, I think. Glad to see it.
Right, I have a couple of comments. First, I want to extend thanks to the Ogdensburg International Seaway Festival Committee for their fundraising festivities in the city this past Saturday. As was mentioned, Saturday afternoon, over 100 vendors sold their wares at the Holiday Craft Show at Kennedy School. I'm told it was a well-attended event by the community. Saturday evening, the annual Light Up the Night Parade proceeded up State Street from OFA to the mall parking lot. Many floats, many marchers, and there were great crowds along the parade route. And immediately following the parade, a great fireworks show emanated from Lighthouse Point to the entertainment of many who ventured down toward the river to view them. And community kids had the opportunity to visit Santa and Mrs. Claus, other elves at the Dubisky Center. So just a great way to start the holiday season. And again, congratulations to the Ogdensburg International Seaway Festival Committee for an entertaining day. Next, as I'm sure we're all aware, this is Andrea Smith's last meeting with us in her position as the Director of Planning and Development. I'll just make a brief comment to start and turn it over to the rest of council, but much appreciation to Andrea for her 20 years plus of service to this city, the many times that she stepped up to the plate to go above and beyond what was expected of her in her position. You know, the 2 times she served as interim city manager. You know, as I mentioned to a television reporter earlier tonight, you know, you think about a lot of the development that's taking place along the waterfront here in the city, and she was involved in making all that happen in many different aspects. So, and that's not to mention other work in other areas of the city. You know, the formation, the idea that you came up with this year to form a strategic planning committee, which will be a living committee, which I believe may have resulted in, through her leadership, our strongest DRA application since that program started. Just tremendous work over dedication to the city over a long period of time, and certainly I wish her well in her new challenges. Other members of council.
Yeah. I can remember when Andrea first started and she came in as an intern out of school. Being on my first term in council in 2010, I believe, 11. But and I'm not going to repeat everything the mayor said, but if you look around a lot of the recent development in the last 20 years, she's partly responsible for a lot of it. And, you know, I wish you well, Andrea. It's been great working with you. You know, the city owes you, you know, your selfless work for this city is something to be commended. And I wish you the best, and will surely be missed, but best wishes.
Yeah, I agree. I remember when you first came as an intern, and I remember reading your resume. I believe I still have it somewhere in my files, and I don't throw much away, but when I saw the urban planning and the brownfields remediation, I was just taken back. But so much more than that, your heart and soul and dedication, it goes beyond your credentials and what you've given to this city. What you've brought here, the millions of dollars to try and clean up. You know, if you look at the brownfields, the Diamond National, Shade Roller, Augsbury that's underway, the cheese plant, and then the Ready projects and the parks, Maple City Trail at the confluence of the Oswegatchie and St. Lawrence Rivers. I remember practicing that with you and Shane. And it just, the infrastructure projects, wastewater, the list goes on. The list goes on. I'm sure the millions of dollars you brought here, you truly have been an asset, and now your work is really going to be a legacy for this town. And thank you for what you've done. So.
I'd like to add, Your Honor, that I too have worked with Andrea since she first started in 2011. Even though I didn't come on council till 2012, we share a love of the environment, making the city better in that aspect. It's very evident that you love this city, because not only do you do your own duties, but very often we see you at the other events, the working with the Key Club, with the cleanup of the trail system. It goes outside of what you do just as your position, your love of the city. So thank you for all of that. And I wish you the best. Our loss, someone else's gain, and we will miss you.
Anybody else?
I can't say any more than what Mayor Tooley and the other councilors have said, but thank you, Andrea.
Yes, I agree. Thanks, Angela. We really, you're something.
I'm the real new one around here, but I always joke that Andrea is like a walking book of municipal code. Like, you can ask her and she doesn't know the answer.
Pretty sure.
Okay, thanks again, Andrea.
We wish you luck.
Well, thank you all very much. It has been a pleasure working for the city. It has been a lot of fun. Even the tough days, most of them were still good days. So I am sincerely grateful for the opportunity that the city gave me and the trust that it had in me when I was hired in 2011. So thank you very much. I will miss you all greatly, but I'm not going anywhere, so I'm sure that I will see you all around. So thank you.
God bless.
Any other items for discussion? So that brings us to citizen participation. At this time, if anyone attending in person would like to address council, please come down to the podium and you will have 2 minutes. Now, if anyone attending remotely would like to address council, please use the raise hand feature. The city clerk will recognize and unmute one person at a time, and you will have 2 minutes.
I do not see any hands raised, Mayor.
All right, next, I will introduce a resolution to adjourn to executive session. Whereas Mayor Tooley requests an executive session with members of the Augsburg City Council to discuss the employment history of a particular person. And whereas New York State open meetings law permits City Council to adjourn to executive session for such purpose. Now therefore be it resolved that City Council adjourn to executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular person. And be it further resolved that any action resulting from this executive session shall be taken in open session. I so move. Any discussion? Kathy, please call the roll.
Mayor Tooley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim,
Yes.
Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
approved.
Resolution to adjourn to executive session, whereas City Manager Fonda Cronus requests an executive session with members of the Augsburg City Council to discuss the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property. And whereas New York State open meetings law permits City Council to adjourn to executive session for such purpose. Now therefore be it resolved that City Council adjourn to executive session to discuss the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property. And be it further resolved that any action resulting from this executive session shall be taken in open session. I so move.
Second.
Discussion. Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim,
Yes.
Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Tooley,
Yes.
approved.
And resolution to adjourn to executive session, whereas City Manager Fonda Cronus requests an executive session with members of the Augsburg City Council to discuss proposed pending or current litigation. And whereas New York State open meetings law permits City Council to adjourn to executive session for such purpose. Now therefore be it resolved that City Council adjourn to executive session to discuss proposed pending or current litigation. And be it further resolved that any action resulting from this executive session shall be taken in open session. I so move.
Second.
Discussion. Kathy, please call the roll.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Counselor Stevenson,
Yes.
Counselor Trim,
Yes.
Counselor Weaver,
Yes.
Mayor Tooley,
Yes.
Counselor Selly,
Yes.
approved.
We do not anticipate any action coming out of any of these executive sessions, so I will make a motion to adjourn from executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the meeting will be adjourned after the last executive session. And just to the public, enjoy a very happy Thanksgiving this week. Our first executive session, I know we'll be inviting Andrea Smith to join us.
Happy Thanksgiving.